Welcome to Backstage with Geoffrey Morrissey. I'm your host, Geoffrey Morrissey. We are backstage at the Brighton Music Hall with the Beths. Their record, Future Me Hates Me, has all I've been listening to for the past couple days. And I have to start with the bone to pick. River Runs has been in my head for like the past couple days, so I'm holding you two solely responsible.
Sorry.
No, you're totally good. It's a great song. But
Thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I love the name, the Beths. Beth is like, I know 4 Beths. Beth is a name that always keeps popping up in my life.
You know 4 Beths?
4 Beths,
I don't know anyone who goes by Beth. I know a lot of, we actually get a lot of Beths now approaching the band and introducing themselves. It's good. We're like a magnet for people named Beth now, which I kind of like.
That's good though. Yeah, the brand is sticking, so that's something to work with. Are there names that you guys find like they're always popping up, like that, you know, like 6 of one or?
I mean, there's a lot of Jonathans or Johns, and I'm just one of the crew. Yeah.
I don't know like that many Callums, but I know enough, and they're together enough that it's confusing.
Well, there you go. And I like the sort of the idea. I was reading in an interview that the Beths, it's sort of like when Lorelai names her daughter Rory, sort of like naming after yourself. So I have to ask, the second sort of installment, the Netflix part of Gilmore Girls, that second season where they went off and sort of did what they did you guys watch that? And do you have any reaction to it as Gilmore Girls? I'm assuming fans.
So like in the lead up to it, well, like it had already been out for a little while, but I was like, well, I'll just quickly watch everything from season 1 to the end, which I hadn't actually done before. Like, I was a casual fan, but I have friends who are much more hardcore, and so I got in there and I watched everything right up until the very end, and it got a bit punishing, and I was like, cool, now I can watch this new season. And then I watched one episode and I was like, I can't do it. It's too weird. It's too weird.
Do you think you overcommitted?
No, I just think it was too weird.
That's very fair. It was a tough couple of episodes to get through and wrap your head around like all the people that had moved and everything that had changed, but it certainly, I love the original Gilmore Girls, and I just sort of loved the comparison with this. Another thing that I think we all kind of share in common is a love of Death Cab For Cutie. I can't help but notice the shirt there.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing a shirt.
Well, you guys were just on tour with them, and I know that they're sort of like an influence for you. They're one of my favorite bands too. Or very few people have that experience of they got to tour with one of their favorite bands. So tell me a little bit about what that was like, and sort of being able to be out on the road with Death Cab.
Do you want
It was really, really special. I think I've had the opportunity to kind of meet sort of semi-heroes, or heroes. I'll just say it. They're my heroes, and I met them sometimes, and sometimes they're really disappointing. They let you down a little bit, and then maybe kind of burst your bubble, and that's a pretty typical story. But Death Cab were not like that. They were just an amazing band, very generous to us, and it was such an inspiring experience. The whole thing was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I with John, I had kind of like just low expectations for like, well, managed my expectations anyway for like what to expect. I was like, it's just you're the support band, you're bottom rung of the ladder. You just gotta like keep your head down and play the shows.
I was like, they'll be our best mates by the end of it.
What? Yeah, so it was just really nice to see that they have a really nice kind of culture around them, and all the crew are really lovely, and there's no kind of like, well, we didn't see any of that kind of like, I don't know, toxic this that you can get in like a group of people who've been touring for a really long time and are maybe jaded or something. There just wasn't that. People, they just all really wanted to make music, and it was really positive. Yeah.
Nice. And I mean, it must be inspiring too to be around a band that, 8 albums in, and Thank You For Today is still sort of as good and as fresh and as new and as different as the other stuff. So
yeah, it's pretty inspiring to see.
Yeah, and they're doing the touring in the US for this album is like with Hatchie, and there's a show with Mitski and a show with Car Seat Headrest and a bunch of other really good bands along the way, and I think it's just a total testament to how good they still are and have always been, like relevant and tasteful, that they're still just like totally up with the play, and totally that wouldn't be strange at all that they would play shows with like the best bands of 2019 because they're right there, they're great.
Exactly, and I love that sort of that description. It's relevant and tasteful because that was sort of one of the words that struck me with Future Me Hates Me. It's just such a great album for 2019, 2018. And Elizabeth, I was reading Rolling Stone. They've written about the album that deciphering the difference between playful self-deprecation and genuine misery is part of what makes this album not only interesting, but acutely human, which was one of sort of the interesting things I've seen sort of written about an album in a songwriting style. And I'm interested with you sort of when you're processing and writing lyrics, sort of how that helps you sort of sort through different emotions and how, something comes on the page and, is it surprising? Is it something that you kind of know where you're going, or how does that process work for you?
It's well, I normally will write a whole bunch. I guess the process, my process is generally writing a whole bunch of just kind of stream of consciousness stuff, and then later going back when I'm kind of playing music and kind of writing songs and kind of drawing from that. But yeah, the misery thing is funny. I think it can be quite self-indulgent or come across quite self-indulgent sometimes, and I think I also just get self-conscious about about being sincere sometimes, sometimes more than others. I don't know. I think that's why the ratio kind of works out.
Yeah.
At about 50-50, because I don't know.
I think at one point you were kind of concerned about the sincerity of River Run.
Yeah, that's I mean, I still am. I'm still a little bit self-conscious of it, more than any of the other ones on the record.
There's fewer jokes.
There's almost no jokes.
Almost no jokes. Well, there you go. I mean, it's interesting because when I read that, I'm like, miserable is not one of the words, or misery is not one of the words I would associate with this record. So how have you guys sort of navigated the difference between what these songs mean to you and what others are projecting sort of onto you and onto your music? Because something tells me there has to be somewhat of a gap there that you kind of have to navigate.
Well, there kind of is already a gap, between from when I write the words to when I write the song. There's already a gap, and there's already some abstraction or some or maybe some movement of where the meaning is or who it's particularly directed at. I might start a song directed at a particular person and finish it directed at somebody else, but the emotion is the same, and then there's a gap again for a really long time, to the point where there's almost an entirely new meaning to it for me by myself, and that's not even with showing it to other people. So I think I'm fine with with it meaning different things to different people, because I know that I definitely project my own meanings into other people's songs when I listen to them, and I like doing that.
Yeah, totally. From the U.S. to New Zealand is such a long flight, which is something we were talking about a little bit earlier. If you guys could pick one person to sit next to you on that flight that you could talk with for the 20-plus hours that you're on the plane and kind of learn from, who would that person be for either one of you?
Ooh, it's a long flight.
Yeah, stuff's gonna get dark on that flight. It's got to be someone who you're willing to go, who you're willing to show your worst side to, as well as maybe bond with.
I don't know.
We don't like flying, so kind of no one, but that's not really a sufficient answer. We could think of someone. I reckon I'd quite like to sit down with the Prime Minister of New Zealand right now. She's doing all right. Mm-hmm. But I got opinions.
I'm not very good at thinking on my feet with this. I feel like this is meant to be a kind of a fun question, but I'm oh my god, I have to sit next to them for 20 hours. I have to really think about this one.
Do you reckon you'd sit next to Ben Gibbard for 20 hours?
I don't know.
He wouldn't. He would be
I get really
a dynamo from hour 1 to hour 20.
I think I get really nervous, and I'd be he wants his space.
Wants his space. Yeah. Well, that's totally okay. I can't think of really anyone that I would want to spend 20 hours uninterrupted with or anything like that. So I completely agree. There's so many songs in this album. I know that we've touched on a couple of them that I wish I wrote, whether it be sort of Little Death or River Runs. If y'all could steal a song from one artist and the world only knows it is your song, it's in your catalog, what song would you take as your own?
Oh, no.
We're stealing someone else's song. and making it ours.
The world only knows it as the Beths. They wrote this. They put it out into the world.
There's so many. There's a song, Kate by Ben Folds 5. I really like that song.
Yeah.
Great choice.
Yeah, that is an awesome choice.
Okay, cool. It's the one off the top of my head, but I'll probably, like, in 1 minute be like, I should have, damn it, should have chosen this other song. I hate choosing.
Do you have one, Jonathan?
I don't know. Like, I'm tempted to go with like a classic stone cold great song, like a textbook great song, like Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell or something like that. Would be like, oh yeah, like that's a good song. That's very touching.
Yeah. A Case of You is up there for me. I'd call that a good day at work if I wrote A Case of You. But thank you both so much for the time. I really appreciate it. I know you have a show to play, so I'll make this my last question. Who are y'all listening to right now?
We listen to Illuminati Hotties and Sydney Gish a lot, and we're really excited about seeing them at South by Southwest.
Nice.
So that'll be great. And we always listen to this New Zealand band called Hans Puckett, who are our favourite band.
Yeah. I don't know, the Tiny Ruins record just came out, and I'm really into that. The Cherry Glazer record I'm really into as well. Yeah. Lots of stuff. Yeah.
The stuff. Well, if you're not into Future Me Hates Me by the Beths, stop what you're doing. Listen to it right now. You won't be disappointed. Elizabeth and Jonathan from that band have joined me today. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.